Okay, so I'm here today with Gaia's Natural Healing Foundation, Liz. If you would like to introduce yourself, Liz.
Hi, I'm Liz with Gaia's Natural Healing Foundation, and we are starting a new podcast. Willow and I are, and we are very excited to be here and talk about microgreens.
Yes, microgreens. We are going to go over microgreens. It's something that I have been dealing with here on the homestead for several years. However, I am now in a new climate, and due to being in a new climate, I cannot grow my microgreens the way that I used to as fodder for my animals. I'm actually currently running into a massive mold issue. So I think that I need to add more oxygen potentially and a lot less water. What do you know about microgreens, Liz?
I have had a little bit of a tutorial to grow microgreens, and I do know that you're supposed to grow them in a dark environment, at least in the very beginning parts. And otherwise, you're going to get it's going to be too light. What's your lighting like?
I definitely think that's one of my major problems. The fact that, well, I don't know actually, because I did start, well, it could be the lighting. I didn't start them in the dark. I started them just in my house. But then I did transfer them outside to the sun. However, within the first couple days, they started growing so much mold. Where I used
Yeah.
to grow them was in zone 6B back in Bonanza, Oregon. However, now we're in hardiness zone 9A. So it's a lot different than the zone I'm used to, 6B. And I do have to deal with the more, it's not more humidity here, but basically just a higher temperature overall. That is really, I think, boosting and contributing to the mold problem. I also did not sanitize my seeds prior to germinating them, and I think that really, really affected it.
Yes. I do have some micro seeds to start germinating, but I have not started them yet. And so this is my little tutorial. Elsa she gave to me. She did rinse the seeds, and she made sure that they were all um, uh, rinsed, and put them in a jar full of water. Put them in a dark place on a shelf in a dark place for I think it was a day or two. And then she took them out of there and put them in a little bit more light, but not very much more light. And light really has a lot to do with it. Too much light, I think, can cause the mold.
That makes a lot of sense, that it would be too much light. I think I will definitely start my next batch with it being in a more climate-controlled environment. I'm also definitely going to sanitize my seeds. So if you guys want to go onto my Instagram, when I reset up my next batch for germination, I will totally be posting some videos and stuff. So that way, if you guys wanted to join us, maybe set up your own fodder tray or your own microgreen setup, and then we could compare notes later on, that would be awesome.
How is the airflow in the jar? Are you growing it in a jar?
Well, what I try, and this is another factor too, is I tried reusing like a lettuce container that I got from the store. So I did not have airflow in it at all because I didn't puncture any holes. So I think that could really be part of it too.
Yeah, because she used a cheesecloth on the top of the jar, and she just did it in a jar. And I was thinking about growing hydroponic and growing microgreens, but I haven't gotten to that spot yet. But anyways, there's a lot of things going on here. So
That's
anyways,
okay. I feel like we're never really at the exact place that we want to be when we are farming or in agriculture, or even in life in general. Like, you always want to do better, I feel like.
right? You know what? This is inspiring me. I should go ahead and start. just a little small jar of microgreens because they're packed with nutrients. And they're very highly good for you. And it's better if we grow them ourselves instead of
Are you
buying them
gonna,
from the
if you make
store.
your own microgreens, do you think you're just gonna like turn them into a salad or put them on your food, or like how would you prepare them?
Well, I usually buy them, and I just usually buy them from a woman from the farmer's market over here. But I think I'll go ahead and just make a couple jars up and put them on my salads and put them on. Uh, I don't need a lot of bread, but maybe a piece of bread with some cheese and a tomato. Oh my gosh, that sounds so good. Yeah,
That
that's what
actually
I'm gonna
really
do.
sounds good. I was just looking it up right now, and microgreens actually do have a whole bunch of vitamins, even more than I even knew. So they're super rich in vitamin A, C, E, and K, which I'm not
Okay.
100% sure like what vitamin K is. I do know that vitamin K is something needed for blood, I believe, because they give you a vitamin K shot when you're first born as a baby. However, I'm not 100% sure if that is the same vitamin K that they have here listed in these microgreens. They also have a whole bunch of minerals like iron, potassium, magnesium, and zinc. So I know that
Uh-huh.
zinc is really good, as well as potassium and magnesium for emotional regulation and stuff within your
Yeah.
body. So that's another great
Mm-hmm.
thing. As well as antioxidants, which help protect cells from damage caused by free
Mm-hmm.
radicals. And like that is basically where
Mm-hmm.
cancer comes in. So it seems like
Mm-hmm.
microgreens are really good for you just in general, like overall.
And plus, for just if you dehydrate the microgreens down, um, not saying that you will, but if you do, it's very, 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 like you don't even need a whole bunch. And then you can actually put it into your smoothie. And I was thinking I might go ahead and
Ooh, that
dehydrate some of my
sounds good.
microgreens down and put it
Yeah.
inside of my smoothie. And so I might go ahead and start a bigger batch. So maybe like, what do you think? 6 jars?
Yeah,
What are
six
you
jars
going to
could
do?
totally work. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's
What are
kind of a
you
lot though,
thinking?
I won't lie. Another thing that I also learned recently is that with your microgreens, less is more. So you definitely want to have less
Yeah.
seeds on your tray than you think. So I could have also overseeded my trays a lot, but I think my number
Um,
one contribution to the failure of my first microgreen batch here was the non-sanitization process, which you can
yeah.
sanitize your seeds in a whole bunch of different ways. I know that the most common way is with bleach. However, I don't want to like
Ugh.
bleach my seeds, you know? So I
No,
was looking
no.
into it, and you can actually use a mild solution of hydrogen peroxide or even a vinegar solution and
I
soak
like the
the
color.
seeds in that. And if you use hydrogen peroxide as your solution, you would just want to dilute it with like a 3% water content.
Okay.
And so that would help eliminate the bacteria and other pathogens. Or alternatively, you could use your vinegar solution. So you'd want equal parts white vinegar and water. And then after soaking them, I would assume probably overnight, but I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
long. You would want to rinse your seeds
Overnight.
thoroughly, obviously, before planting.
Uh-huh. So right here, I am actually looking at this, and it says to reduce the initial pathogen population as much as possible if there is mold on the microgreens
Hmm.
or they will not be safe to eat. You'll need
Yeah.
to wash the microgreens and then cook them on high temperature to ensure the mold is gone. However, this will destroy the goodness in your plants. So I would suggest not to do
Yeah,
that.
I basically scratched the whole batch, and I was looking into it a little bit further, and it says that you want to let your seeds soak for 15 to 20 minutes in your solution. So definitely don't
Okay.
soak them overnight, you guys. That would probably ruin it. So my bad there, thinking that. Good thing I verified. Always fact check. But 15 to 20 minutes
Absolutely.
in your vinegar solution, I would recommend that. It's basically a 1-to-1 mix with your white vinegar and water. Apple cider vinegar
Okay.
might work too, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
I have some white vinegar. I'll use distilled water and white vinegar, and I'll put them in for 20 minutes. You said 20 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, and then rinse them off,
Yes.
and then
And
put
then
them
and then
back
put
in
them
the
in
jar.
whatever you want, like where you're going to grow them.
Okay, so I'm going to grow mine in the jars. So I'm going to rinse my
Yes.
jars so they go to wash them real good, and then put them back in there. And how much water am I supposed to use?
Well, I'm not, you want to like mist them, so you don't want them too wet, but you
You
don't
don't
want
want
them
them too white.
dry, right? However,
Right.
like what the tip and trick that I use to get the most success rate for germination is I like to soak them in water overnight, like totally cover them in water just for the first night. And then empty
Okay.
it. Just empty out your tray 100%. And that gives
Okay.
me about a 90% success rate with germination. And I won't even lie,
Mhm.
for my base, the seeds that I'm using, I just went to the store and bought bird seed. And then I just germinated the bird seed and then separated the sunflower seeds from everything else. So that way I could like plant
Wow.
the sunflowers.
That's some good information. Thank you. This is going
Yeah,
to
no
be a
problem. It was
success,
also
isn't
like
it?
way cheaper, than buying, but you could also
Yeah.
use it with like clover seed or rye or like whatever. Some people do like broccoli
Right.
microgreens. Like there's all sorts of different types of microgreens.
Yeah, I have broccoli sprouts, and I have a whole different variety. So I'll just put 2 jars of each, and we'll see what it comes to, how it comes out in a few days, because I know it doesn't take very
Yeah.
long.
And then
I
let's
do
take photos.
remember,
I think yeah, what do
yeah,
you guys think about that too, our listeners? Should we go
thank
ahead and take
you.
some photos like daily or weekly
Yeah.
to give you guys updates and we can post them on our social medias? I know Gaia's Natural Healing Foundation has a Facebook page. I'm not sure. Do you guys have an Instagram too or not, Liz?
No, we don't have an Instagram page, not yet. I'm going to go ahead and make one, but that's in the works.
That's okay. So they don't have an Instagram, guys, but they do have a Facebook page. So you can go on Facebook and search for Gaia's Natural Healing Foundation. And then Willow's Way has an Instagram and a Facebook. So I'll be posting it on my Instagram. My Facebook page is not really up and running yet. I need to do some more work on that. And then I also need to get my
Right.
website up and running tonight better. Cause yeah, it just needs to be updated. I would like to do posts on there too for you guys to be able to follow. So that way you can go straight from our chats here to willowsway.com and be able to like follow along, see the progression of the experiments we're going to be doing and like tips and tricks or just to like a little synopsis of what we'll be going over with Gaia's Natural.
So wait, I have one question. So thank you, by the way, for teaching me about growing sprouts and microgreens. I really do appreciate you so much
No
for this,
problem
and
at
inspiring me
all.
to get it done because it needs to be
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
And I am looking right here. It does say to keep the trays in a warm location between 65 to
hmm
75. I know that
Well,
your
that's
temperatures are
basically
really
room
super hot.
temperature though, right? Because, I mean,
Uh-huh.
what is considered room temperature? I think it's like 70. Yeah, 70. So room
Mhm.
temperature is generally 70. So you can basically keep it like in a cupboard or anywhere that's not going to get like cold.
Yeah. And so we want to cover the jars or the trays, but we want to make sure that they have air.
hmm
And after we get out of the soaking process, I do remember we have to mist
Yes.
them, but not water them because the
No.
overwatering will create mold also.
Correct.
Okay.
So, and like a lot of people like to use a growing medium too for their microgreens.
Mhm.
So there's like a whole bunch of different stuff that you could use. A lot of people will do like, I think it's like fish tank rocks. I'm not sure. Hold on. Or they'll do like dirt, but I don't really like to use dirt because I want it to, you know. So, a lot of the effective growing mediums are like peat-based mixes, coconut core. I don't know what that is. Coconut core, COIR, and soilless mixes. So you can find those at most garden supply stores or online
Mm-hmm.
retailers, it says. There's even microgreen mats that you can use. However, I'm not 100% sure on that because I try to stay away from plastic as much as
Right.
possible.
Right.
So I don't know about that. You know what would probably be a really good medium for microgreens? Coconut husk. Like, I'm sure
Oh.
coconut husk is really good. That's probably what coconut COIR is probably just
Okay.
coconut husk. But, cause you know what I mean? Like, it's something that'd be really easy for the roots to intertwine with and whatnot. However,
Uh-huh.
because I am growing my microgreens as fodder for my rabbits, and my chickens, I don't really want to use a base for them simply because I don't
Sure.
want the rabbits and the chickens to eat that. However, I could potentially maybe use like a crushed oyster shell, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because if the chickens eat the oyster shell, then that's fine because that's just extra calcium for them. And even for the rabbits, I don't know. I feel like rabbits probably should not eat oyster shell. And I don't want to have to like cut the microgreens, you know.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm trying to save
So,
myself time.
right. So when Elsa gave me the tutorial,
Hmm.
she was like, "Have you ever done this?" And I'm like, "No, I've never." And so when I have a few of those wide mouth jars, and I'm hoping to do it the same way she did it. So
Hmm.
they also have the lids on it that are for your yeast,
Hmm.
starters or your kombucha or whatever. I'm going to go ahead and just use those lids, and I'm going to put it in a dark place for soaking in warm water overnight or for a few hours, it says, to promote germination.
Hmm.
And then this says to place a layer of soil or suitable growing medium at the bottom of the jar. That's what you're talking about. She did not do that. Do
Mm.
you know if there's a real difference,
I'm not
about,
sure. We'd have to experiment that. I feel like. I mean,
okay.
I don't see why not.
Well, I'll tell you what, how about mine? I'll just put them in the jars. Like, I remember her doing the tutorial and seeing how that does for me, and we'll compare it to yours and see how it does for you. And you do yours in the soil or whatever soil medium, and we'll see how it goes. Yeah?
Yeah, because I was looking at it right now and it doesn't really say necessarily. It just says that everything needs something for good moisture
Right.
retention and for the roots to penetrate. However, I feel like you don't need, I mean, and some people say paper towels, but even still, I wouldn't want to feed
Mhm.
my animals paper towels, so.
Right. I also have this little, it's almost like a little sprouting unit
Uh-huh.
where it it has a little pump down at the bottom and it sprinkles the water on exactly what you need. Maybe I'll just put my seeds in there and see how that comes out for me. That's what I'm going to do, and I'll put them in there and take pictures.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm also thinking about what if I use like, a mesh something or other, but even still, I feel like there has to be a way to grow them without any of that. Because I feel like
Right.
they kind of
I
make their own medium, right? As the roots
Yeah.
intertwine and whatnot.
I actually did use this little machine, I guess it is. It has a little bit of water. You put it down at the bottom, then it pumps it up and just sprays the water onto the microgreens. But it has two trays in it, and I
Mhm.
used the two trays, and the ones on the bottom did not come out very well. So maybe I
Mm.
just use the one tray and see if I can get them sprouting, and I'll get back to you and let you know.
Yeah. Yeah, because yeah, this coconut stuff is literally just like coconut husk. That's all it is. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, I wonder if this is safe though too for them, huh?
Are you gonna do it? We should research it before you do it. But I think coconut husks are pretty much safe for almost anything. Maybe you tried two
Yes,
different
it is.
mediums.
Okay, so it says that it is generally safe for my rabbits too. It says
Mm-hmm.
that it's generally safe for rabbits to chew on and use as a bedding. So, but you don't want them to consume large quantities. So as long as you're just using a tiny bit for like the bottom of it, I'm sure that once you pull the microgreens out, you could probably like, brush off the roots a little bit to get all of that off. And it's like mostly biodegradable. So I'm going to try that out. I'm going to see, cause I have some of that stuff right now, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to
I'm pretty
hydrate
excited
some.
about this adventure. It's just microgreens. It's not a big deal, but we should know how to do this. And we don't have food or whatever. This is an easy way to be able to kind of give us back those nutrients besides just going out and picking,
Well, and not
herbs
just
and stuff that
nutrients
are
for
available.
us, but also like how I'm doing it for my animals. It's a good
Yeah.
way to be able to provide fodder and feed for your livestock if something were to happen to where you could still be
Yeah.
self-reliant and self-sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's kind of like the whole big thing on about the homestead here, right? Is that we want to be totally self-sufficient and self-reliant so that way God forbid, if something did happen or if there wasn't a food shortage or
Mm-hmm.
an animal feed shortage, because as we see all the time, there's feed shortages or prices get jacked up or whatever the case may be. It's nice to know that I don't have to rely on the system and I could still
Okay.
remake my own thing. Now, the next step that I'd love to do is how can we make microgreen seeds? Like I would love to turn my microgreens into the
Mm,
plant that they come from, right? So that
I
way I could
loved
start
it.
making my own seeds again, which I feel like that might be something that's easier to do with maybe like red clover or maybe even the broccoli or something like that.
Mm, absolutely. There's so many benefits in red clover too. Hey, oh, by the way, are you going to be feeding your chickens your microgreens?
Yeah, it's for the chickens and the rabbits.
Can you
So
feed your dogs and
I
cats
really, really,
microgreens?
really want to make sure that my rabbits can be on full fodder. Like I would love to get them on a full fodder diet
Mm-hmm.
versus hay
Mm-hmm.
because like hay is great, but I think it would be nice for them to have fresh food instead of dry food. Like obviously offer them both, but you know what I mean.
Right. And so can you feed microgreens to your dogs? Because I make my own dog
Yeah,
food.
I don't see why
Yeah.
not.
And can you feed them to their cats so your cats eat them? Do you know?
Mhm.
Okay. So
For sure.
I'll offer
Cats will
them to my
totally eat
cat.
microgreens.
Right. I have some barn cats that live out here on the farm, and I'll see if they'll eat them too. Because I mean, if they can get their nutrients that way, that would just help them out a lot. And I think that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm. Absolutely.
exciting! I'm excited about this adventure with you, Willow. Thank you for teaching me all that I've learned today.
No
And
problem. Thank you for being here.
yes, absolutely, I'll see you soon with my pictures.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. So it sounds like that's going to be the end of today's episode with Gaia's Natural Healing Foundation and Willow's Way, microgreens. So that's a little bit of information about microgreens, how to start them. Feel free to check out our social medias for Gaia's Natural Healing
And
Foundation, as well as Willow's Way to follow along and comment, post,
then,
share your photos. If you're going to go ahead and start your own microgreen experiment, please let us know so that way we can talk about it. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you all
yeah,
online.
share pictures. Share pictures with us. We would love it.
All right,
It's
Liz.
all
Well, I
about
hope you have a
living.
beautiful rest of your day, and I will talk with you here later.
Okay, beautiful. Bye.
Bye.